As traders, it's kind of scary to think that we're putting money on the line towards something that we have no idea what the outcome will be. We have to kind of just analyze whatever we see and then hope for the best. Well, this is why top-down analysis is super important, why it's super important to pay attention to what the higher time frame tells us rather than what the lower time frame tells us, because a lot of times we can end up getting trapped by using the lower time frame only. In this video, I explain why using the higher time frame kind of saved me from having a really bad red week this week, and it may also help save you. Now, this week compared to last week was obviously tougher. Our win rate was a little bit lower, and I believe we actually took more trades than we did last week. But if we're looking to like why it was a tougher week, this week was definitely much more scarier to be a buyer, but the shorts almost never worked out. And in fact, if you were to take shorts this week, I mean, a lot of times you're just taking lower time frame trap plays, and it's not going to really work out well for you. Last week, as we saw, I mean, you can clearly see where sellers were stepping in and clearly see where buyers are stepping in. But this past week that we just wrapped up, I mean, there's almost no sellers in the market. Yeah, you have like this one nice pullback, but I mean, other than that, you have that Tuesday pullback, and then towards the end of the day on Monday, you could have maybe sold here. But if you're a VWAP trader, I mean, where are your entry criterias? If you were to take shorts on Tuesday, you got trapped. If you were to take shorts on Wednesday, you also got trapped. And I mean, to be fair, the shorts on Thursday didn't look too clean either. And this is on the 1 hour chart. But if we flip that, and if we were only looking for longs, because again, it kind of does make sense if you want to look for that long only bias, because since we've made this higher low, this pivot down here on last Wednesday, I mean, buyers have just been incredibly strong, and it's kind of clear as to where they're stepping in. We have a nice higher low here, a higher high here, higher low here, a higher high here. We then sweep this pivot, but we never close below it. So this is kind of like a liquidity sweep to where, nice, we just kind of refueled. And then from this liquidity sweep, we're just like pumping higher with a small little pullback, keep on pumping higher with a little bit of consolidation. And then from here, you're like, surely the gas is exhausted. Surely buyers are kind of done chugging us higher. But nope, overnight, they just take us higher again. We get a nice little pullback and then higher again to end off the day on Friday. And this is the tricky thing about trading all-time highs, is that it's scary to be long, but at the same time, if you're not long, you can seriously get punished by having this short-term bias of trying to pick the top. But don't do that, because I did that on some days. And well, I mean, when buyers are this strong, you kind of have to lean in a little bit more on the higher time frame and not be so afraid that, hey, I might be finally buying this hop. Because if something works out 7 times, but then that last time it doesn't, you're going to be happy that you won the ones that you won, and you can't really be mad at the one loss that you have, especially if you're risking the same amount on a consistent basis. But now let's actually go over some of the trades that I marked up and just some highlights throughout the week, starting off with Sunday, to where we had a really nice clean setup here. And basically we opened up the week very bullish. We popped higher. We're seeing higher highs and higher lows form above the start of future sessions VWAP. And then we finally get a nice pullback on the lower time frame. And it kind of makes sense as to where buyers start to decide to step in. So what I did was anchored, or what I marked up was anchored a high of day anchored view up here, then take the breakout trade of that higher high of day anchored view up, which is a nice entry model to have. And then you can just hold this thing for 1 hour, even 2 hour, if you kind of want to be a bit more ballsy. But I'm a 1-to-1 trader, so I marked it up as a 1-to-1 R trade. And then if we go on to Monday, here's another trade that I actually did take later on in the day. And this was definitely a bit of a more tricky trade, because again, even though buyers are incredibly strong, you still have to be cautious as to where you kind of get in. And if you're getting in all the way up here after we've just made such a higher high like this, to where we had a strong push. I mean, we started off the open down here at the 44s, and now we're trading up at the 72s. I mean, that's kind of like a lot of movement for ES, especially like if we don't get a full pullback, at least to the start of session VWAP, you kind of have to be a bit more cautious, and you may want to be a bit more aggressive in profit taking. But the main factor I would like to highlight here is how prices kind of started to move sideways. And you can clearly see that we have a ceiling right here that buyers are really struggling to get past. And I'm not going to be stubborn. If I'm seeing this And I've seen that we rejected this level previously here, and now we're rejecting it for the third time here. I mean, I don't want to just be stubborn and hold this trade fully. I'm going to lock in some partials because I know for winning trades, I mean, dude, it's going to keep on going and we'll be able to strongly break through these ceilings of resistance that we may face as we're sitting through our trade. But because we're seeing this resistance and because we've been having such a hard time of breaking past this area of resistance, I decided to close out 5 out of the 7 contracts I was in this position. And this is just a good habit to have. Again, like if it goes without me, I still have 2 runners in, and I can't really look at this and be like, dang, why did I take partials? Because imagine if this thing comes back down against me, which it actually does. I'm going to be happy that I took some partials. I'm going to be happy that I actually locked in some profits, because if it does come back down, I can always get back in, right? And that's the key. So moving on to the 2 trades that I think I definitely should have taken on Monday, which was, again, at the open, overnight, we retested the startup sessions view app. We have the previous day's New York view app below us, and we have the week to date view app below us as well. We're just building that bullish structure. So again, taking the high of day anchor view app break at the open is not a bad idea, especially because buyers stepped in where they are supposed to, which is around the startup session view app. As a view up trader, we have to understand that you can never play view up as like a distinct level. And if, it breaks below it all, it's invalid. No, you have to play view up as if it's a zone, right? And as long as buyers step in somewhere around here, then that's a good enough for me. As soon as I get my entry model, I take the long, and then you can ride that up until the 74s. You could ride this up for way more, right? But this is the markup that I had just so I can have that image in my memory bank, in that pattern in my memory bank. And obviously, and this is the trades where I was talking about, to where I actually did take. I took partials up here, but again, if I'm knowing that we rejected this level 1, 2, and now a third time, and I just don't lock any partials, I deserve to take this loss. I deserve to go full loss. If you're not going to take any partials, at least move your stop to break even, because if it does come back down, I mean, you can always just get right back in, guys. Now, moving on to Tuesday, which was where things started to get tricky. And luckily, I didn't take this trade on my funded account. I actually took it on my futures desk evaluation account. And this was, I expected buyers to kind of step in here and take price up to retest the previous days and all these view ups above us. And the reason why I thought that is because buyers had the strength to break up above the start of future session view app, and we broke the structure. And again, the opening 15-minute pin is closing like this. I was like, oh man, this looks really good for the longs. Maybe let me try my attempt at long. It's not the worst long in the world, but it's also not a long that I'd kind of like to take frequently, just because, again, what has price action been doing pre-market? Well, we're moving lower. We're below all the major view apps. We are above the start of future session view app for the first time since like London Open. So it's like, do I want to really take this risk and try my attempt at the long here? Or do I want to wait to actually confirm that, hey, we're actually going to hold this and we're actually going to move higher, and then wait till us get past this view app and just wait for a bit more confirmation on the longs, right? Because again, I got trapped on the long here, but later on, people do get trapped on the shorts, as we're going to see right here. And you may think, oh, wow, we're short. We're going to make lower lows and lower highs. But again, this is where you kind of have to zoom out and go to the 1 hour chart. Okay. So we're looking at Tuesday. And if we see, okay, where are we coming down? Well, we're coming down to last week's start of week VWAP. And then from here, this is a major level to where you kind of do have to understand that, like, we could find buyers here. And if you just zoom out and go to the higher time frame, like we're doing right now, you can clearly see that we did have a pivot low here. And price, all I wanted to do was sweep this pivot low and move higher like it just did. So all we're doing, this move down, was just a liquidity sweep, so that way we can move higher with some nice violence to the upside. So I have to be careful of not getting trapped and having to kind of like zoom out a little bit and not be so absorbed in the lower time frames, because I mean, you can pay a significant price for doing so. And then moving on to the last trade, which was not during the Tuesday New York session, but the Tuesday overnight session, was a really good trade. After the longs were clearly confirmed, after we did swoop that liquidity, we started to build some bullish structure, making our way past all of the view ups of resistance, like I previously said. Now longs are confirmed. This is the setup we actually should have waited for. and I took the opportunity and I seized it quite handsomely. And basically what I'm doing here is we pop above all these view apps, we come back down, retest it. Again, we're playing the start of session of view app as a zone. Buyers step in around the zone, then it takes price back up higher. We break above the high of the anchored view app, and then happy days. We lock in some profits here on the Top Step X account. Unfortunately, we did mismanage our top one futures accounts, but that's okay. We didn't take any L's. It was like a little bit of green, kind of like around break even. But with the Top Step account, not only did we lock in some partials, but we also had a runner that made us our $200 profit target goal. And this was a really good trade. But in all honesty, I do want to definitely start trying to hold these trades for longer and kind of let these runners run for more. I'm risking $200 and I made $200. But did I take profits too early here? Maybe. And that's something that, again, I just have to rely on my back testing, my experience of looking at the charts to have the conviction and confidence to really be able to hold this thing, especially taking in mind what I just said. Guys, we just swept this liquidity. After sweeping this liquidity, we're now starting to build bullish structure. I have to have the confidence that that refueling of the trend is going to give us the juice we need to really push us higher. And I want to really work on taking advantage of that. But obviously, going forward, that's something I'll look forward to, and I'll try to implement more and more and more. I mean, I want to move on to Wednesday. And again, the two trades that I highlighted are these trades. Sorry, this was Tuesday again after we did sweep that liquidity. This is during the New York session. We kind of have a nice pullback after rejecting the open range high and the start of week view app. But we'll also find buyers here. I mean, you could take a high day view up here, but again, this trade is kind of tough to take in the moment, especially after you just see us like kind of like ping ponging against these view apps. It's a very tough trade, and you may want to stay out because if as long as we clear these view apps and we can kind of get above these areas, we're gonna have much more clear trades like we just took on the overnight session of Tuesday night. But going into Wednesday, I want to highlight one more thing. Now we're in Wednesday, and this is a short to where I did not take, and I knew not to take because I knew it was a trap. And the reason why I want to highlight why it was a trap is because, again, guys, on Tuesday, what did we do? We sweep this liquidity, and then we started to build some bullish structure. This is just forming a higher low. And if you're just tunnel visioning on the lower time frame, you're getting trapped. You're looking at the 2 minute or even the 1 minute and being like, wow, this is such a good trade to take in order to go short. We're rejecting the start of a future session view app. We already broke below the opening range low, right? We're close to the initial balance low. We really want to break lower to the downside, potentially shorting all the way down to the previous day's New York view app. But we have to be careful again, because if we look at the 1 hour chart, where is the lowest point that we dropped to Wednesday? Well, dang, we're just kind of near the week to day view app here, and we're starting to make bullish structure. So again, we see that the 1 hour chart is not in alignment with the lower time frame. The lower time frame is painting that, hey, we should probably go short. The 15-minute chart is painting that, hey, we're pretty bullish because, again, as long as we hold this line of structure right here, we really shouldn't be looking for shorts. So why would I take a short knowing that things aren't really in alignment when things are mainly pointing that we want to go higher here? So again, this is where you have to be careful of not getting trapped. And this is where top-down analysis, in my opinion, comes into play and why it's super, super important. And then we look at the next two trades on Wednesday. I mean, you could take a long here, but again, these are tougher trades. These are trades that if you're a more of experienced trader, then it may be easier for you to take. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I'm not as experienced to confidently take a trade like this, especially when the lower time frames tell me to go short, but the higher time frames tell me to go long. This week was a big lesson in learning that, okay, maybe I should put more confidence in the higher time frame. But as I trade more and more, I definitely want to pay attention to this to see which I should rely on more, especially once we start to build this bullish structure. I mean, on the lower time frame, yeah, you may look, wow, well, we were bearish all morning, but look as we're starting to develop these shelves. Once I start to see these shelves, this may be telling me that lower time frame is switching, becoming in alignment with the higher time frames, and maybe I could look for a long entry because this is a really nice long setup to take off of the VWAPs there. And then if we look at Thursday as well, Thursday was definitely a bit on the easier side. It was still scary to long, don't get me wrong, because we're trading at all-time highs. We had an ugly pre-market. I mean, that thing is just sideways. Whenever we have a pre-market like this, kind of don't really like trading on days like this until we can actually pop and get some extensions higher. But on days like this, you want to be careful taking the high of the anchored view app breaks because you really want to take trades as close to the view app as possible here. Where are prices making these higher lows? Well, they're making the higher lows at these view apps here. So that's where you want to kind of get in. You want to get in as if you're going to go long, you want to get in as low as possible. And for me, I mean, that's kind of like taking the trades down here at the start of session view app. But again, at the time, we're still learning these concepts. We're still learning, trying to perfect our system. So I do take the high anchored view app break, but I do cover my profits because I do understand that this thing is not getting a lot of movement. I'm not going to ask for a big move when pre-market looks very kind of congested, and also the New York session looks congested as well. We're not getting too crazy extensions like we had on Monday or even Wednesday or even Tuesday for the longs. So I want to be a bit more cautious and be a bit more aggressive as we're taking longs all the way up here. And that's a good lesson that I did learn on Thursday. And then again, you could have taken this trade. This was a trade that, again, I took on an eval because I know it's not the best trade. But again, just taking these high day breakouts. Why are we taking high day breakouts when we are this far up in this really tight range that we're in? We're basically buying at the top of the range, hoping for us to break out of the range when we haven't even done that yet. So these are some nice lessons that I was able to learn. And then Friday was definitely a flat day, but let's kind of go over Friday really quickly live. And we can see that, I mean, Friday, we just kind of like popped higher. We popped out of this little consolidation period that we were in. Again, on Thursday pre-market, we barely had any movement. And then Friday, we started to pick up a bit more movement. There was a really nice overnight setup that you could have taken on Friday, which was the high of the anchored view out break here. As we make our way higher, come back down, retest, we find buyers. You could just easily ride this up. But also here, I mean, the way we opened up Friday, I mean, price action was kind of just barcoding. And after this, I mean, there's no real way for me to get in, especially if I want to kind of get in as close to the New York view up as possible. The only time we ever touch the New York view app or the start of session view app during the New York session is kind of before 10:30. After that, I mean, we don't even get close to it. We just start to kind of like drift higher, and then buyers just slowly start to grind higher. So even though I can be looking at this like, well, dang, I missed the move on Friday. I mean, there's no way for me to get in this. I'm not the type of trader to normally take trades off of the initial balance. I'm not the type of trader to take trades in no man's land. I like to take my trades off the New York view app. And because I did not get that, well, then I'm not going to force a trade. But that was my week. And if you did enjoy it and you would like to see me trade live Monday through Friday, my streams start at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time, just 15 minutes before the market opens. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel because it really helps me out a lot. And it's totally free for you to do so. But I'll catch you guys in the next one, somewhere around here.